Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. Today on Starfleet Academy, we're going to talk about Come and Away. Now, the title is used in 3 of Shakespeare's plays, King Lear, Romeo and Juliet, and Henry V. The story uses themes from each, but we're not going to get into the thick of that. What we're going to do, though, is give you an idea of what happened and what we think about that and what we learned from it. Our cadets are on the way to a starship graveyard in a joint Academy War College exercise. They're in 2 mixed teams. The blue team has Caleb, Jaden, and Sam from the Academy, Bobby and Kyle from the War College. The red has Durham, Tarima, Pickford, and Genesis. So as the starship graveyard comes into view, we have the ship that's going to be in the competition. It is the Miyazaki. Interestingly, the ship was named after a director of classic anime films. He did Spirited Away and other award-winning outings there. Anyway, the ship itself was 100 years old and was disabled due to a problem with their engines, and we'll get into that in a moment or so. Anyway, the blue team goes aboard first, and the red team will monitor from the Athena bridge. They'll then trade roles, and the team that can power up the ship and activate its computer system in the shortest time would win the competition. Now, there are side bets on here. Tomov, the Starfleet crew member who leads the blue team on board, has a bet that would, if he won, give him some much needed shore leave. He says he hasn't been off the ship in months. So there's that. Also, Aki and Thuk have their own side bet going on as to how soon that the blue team would be able to get, for instance, just power going to the ship. Anyway, it doesn't take long once they're aboard that this becomes more than just an exercise. They are boarded by Reavers. The Furies. This is a new race for Star Trek. They are kind of crazed, half humanoid, half bat type of creatures that have some kind of mental instability due to their hybrid nature, is how it's explained kind of by Admiral Vance later on. Anyway, they lay claim to the ship for their own salvage, and they give Aki 5 hours to come up with a certain amount of latinum and other things that they need as a ransom to return the cadets. And if it's not happening in 5 hours, they kill them all and eat them, or something like that. Anyway, Aki immediately contacts Admiral Vance, and after some discussion where they don't really have any good solutions to it all, he suggests Nusbraka as someone who has dealt with the Furies before and might be able to arrange a peaceful way to deal with this. Now, Aki has some problems with this. She says to Vance that, this is our enemy, and Vance says, well, the enemy of my enemy, and Aki interrupts, can also be an enemy. And she was righter than she knew she was. Anyway, she goes ahead, and Braca comes aboard with his own set of conditions, and he's negotiating with the Vance, who is contacting him through subspace. And after a time, he signs off so he can go deal with the president of the Federation, and that gives Braca some time to toy with Ake. And that is an interesting scene there. We'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, we learn on this there's no word for end in the Lanthanite language. And we also learn something about why she had left Starfleet at first. She had had her son on a ship in a mission, sent him off on a mission, and then she had to choose. Everything went sideways, and she had to choose whether to save her son or the ship, and she ended up saving the ship. So this is something that's very painful for her. Obviously, that was something that led her to even take Caleb under her wing some years later. Anyway, we go to the Mazaki, and at this point, Tomov attempts to overtake the Furies. He's ordered the cadets to shelter on the bridge, and he attempts to take them on by himself, and that does not work out well. They eventually kill him, and they throw him out into space and contact the Athena and says, "Oh, look, this is what happens to people that try to be heroes." So, obviously the cadets are now on the bridge and out of the way. And the Furies, of course, have jammed communications and have jammed transporter signals, so they can't beam the cadets back aboard. Now, on the bridge, Caleb doesn't understand why Tomov sacrificed himself. And Bobby, who has up to this time been kind of a jerk, has become kind of the central character in this part of the show. He invokes Spock's "the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one," and helps the cadets, the rest of the cadets, attempt to start the ship's computer. It was mostly him and Sam that get the computer running so they can activate the internal shields. Now, Bobby had a comic book with him because this ship was a very classic ship, and in this comic book they told the story of the crew and what happened to it and all that kind of stuff. And it's helpful when they try to reactivate the computer, who still won't listen to the cadets because they think the captain is still on board. And so they have to feed the comic book into them, which handily is on paper. So all they have to do is lay it on the computer console, and the computer reads the comic book, and takes longer than most people would take to read it, I'm afraid. Nevertheless, they attempt to start the computer, and they get it just in time to keep from the Furies from getting on the bridge, but they do make a hole in the door that allows them to kill Bobby and seriously injure Sam. Okay, so what we're left with now is in the beginning of the episode. This was a scene that I thought at first was pretty gratuitous, how sex is with a betazoid. Interestingly, it becomes important by the time they're on the ship. We learn you enter a kind of a dream state. This alarms Caleb because he saw his teddy bear in a field of flowers that was part of Tarima's dream. He thought she was getting too close to him, and was rather offended that she went so deeply in his mind. At any rate, she says that there are stranger things. The Deltons have to have a milk bath, tambourines played by their parents, and a song called "Faithful Coupling" that they have to sing. But that's just a little side thing. I digress on that. Anyway, this mind talk that was demonstrated in The Next Generation between Riker and Troy, and anybody else that's real close to a betazoid apparently can do this, is now being used between Tarima and Caleb to pass information between the ships. So this is something, though, that is difficult for her to do with the limiter thing that she has on her neck. And so she's being monitored by the doctor while she's doing any kind of communicating between the ships. Through this communication, Caleb is told that they need to activate the old ship's singularity drive. Now, this is the system that caused the ship to be wrecked. It was used by the Romulans to achieve warp it was revealed back in TNG, an episode where they had a problem where they got locked in a time loop when there was a malfunction of their singularity drive. So by activating the ship's singularity drive, they believe that would break the jam that the Furies have put on the communications and transporter, and they can be beamed back aboard. Now, obviously, we have a seriously injured Sam, a dead Bobby, and we have a strain on Tarima due to her implant. So what we have is finally she uses her power to blow up the Furies as they get onto the bridge, and that's about the time that the engine powers up and they're able to be beamed back aboard. So the last scene shows, or not the last scene, but one of the last scenes shows the doctor having to reconstruct Sam and to try and deal with the other injuries that happened. And they, of course, cover up Bobby. I was thinking that they would have some way that quickly after being killed to revive him, but they could not. So this is what we find, that after all of this, it was all a diversion. And this was all a diversion that was caused by Braca. While all this was happening, they call in another starship in order to try to end the situation. It caused them to leave undefended a secret starbase, and that's what Braca wanted. He had by this time rejoined his ship and had raided this starbase for whatever secrets that they had there that would be useful to him. And he contacts by subspace Aki to gloat and tell her how much he hates her and how much he hates the Federation for trying to control the people in the name of civility and the utopia that the Federation promises. Vance comes back on later and takes all the blame for this, says it's nothing that you did, Aki, and Aki says that, she knew in her gut that something was wrong, and blames herself for not figuring this out. So, in this episode, we see an Intrepid-class starship, the Sargasso. It looks very much like the Voyager, and Discovery is mentioned but not seen. I generally like the twist in this episode. I think Nus Braca is the best villain Star Trek's ever had. He takes joy in his hatred and scheming. I like how the cadets from the War College and the Academy work together so well, and especially making a background character like Bobby have practically the lead through much of this episode. I also like how they demonstrated that space is dangerous, and not everybody's going to make it, and those that do might not without serious injury. So we see all of that. I liked Holly Hunter's ability to say volumes without uttering a word in this masterful scene with Paul Giamatti. She's at a disadvantage. She's having to sit upright in a chair, and he's psychoanalyzing her and doing everything else. He's trying to knock her off balance. And she can tell by the look on her face that she's waiting for him to make a slip that's going to give her some information that she needs. Unfortunately, the information that she gathered was stuff he intended for her to have. And the fact that she was outsmarted is something you rarely see in Star Trek. What I thought was going to be a fluff episode from the beginning has been, in my opinion, one of the best. And that's my take on Starfleet Academy this time. I want to remind you, if you've not subscribed, please do so. And of course, if you have anything to say, please put it in the comments below. I read them all and respond to most. Stay with us. We have, of course, on Tuesday, have another Farscape episode to review. And on Thursday, Professor O and I will be talking about Time Bandits. So, hope you'll join us for one of those and back next week for one of these. Until then, don't go far.